Rizal, A Question of Heroism. The late 19th century, the Philippines under Spanish rule, a nation yearning for freedom, and at the center of this struggle, a figure both revered and debated, José Rizal. Nick Joaquin, in his powerful essay A Question of Heroes, challenges the conventional narrative. He asks, was Rizal simply a saintly hero, a flawless paragon of virtue? Or was he something more complex, a man wrestling with doubt, caught between reform and revolution, perhaps even a reluctant hero, an unintentional hero, an anti-hero in the classical sense? Rizal was a prodigy. Brilliant, multi-talented, he excelled in everything. Sent to Europe to study medicine, he instead found his calling in writing. His novels, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, weren't just stories. They were social dynamite. They exposed the corruption, the abuses, the deep-seated injustices of the colonial system. They awakened a national consciousness. But Rizal was a reformer, not a revolutionary. He believed in the power of education, in peaceful change. He sought to awaken the Filipino spirit, to instill pride in their identity, but he advocated for reform within the system, not violent overthrow. This nuanced stance often placed him in a difficult position. He was criticized by some within the burgeoning Filipino resistance for being too moderate, too hesitant. Joaquin argues that Rizal wasn't necessarily driven by a burning desire for martyrdom or even a traditional heroic image. He was a man of his time, a product of his intellectual and social context. He valued reason, dialogue, and gradual progress. He wasn't looking for a fight, but his very words became weapons, his ideas fuel for the growing flames of revolution. He was a reluctant hero, perhaps even an anti-hero in the classical sense, because he wasn't a warrior or a firebrand in the mold of others. He questioned, he debated, he sought understanding, even with his adversaries. Exile in Dapitan reveals another facet of Rizal. He wasn't just a political figure, he was a man of action, dedicated to improving the lives of Filipinos in practical ways. He built a school, practiced medicine, engaged in scientific pursuits. He showed that heroism could also be found in quiet dedication, in everyday acts of service. He wasn't leading armies, but he was leading by example, building a better future in his own small way. But the revolution was brewing, unstoppable. And despite his calls for peace, Rizal's writings had become a rallying cry. He was accused of sedition, a charge he likely knew would lead to his death. He wasn't a revolutionary leader, but his ideas had become revolutionary. His execution transformed him into a martyr, a symbol of Filipino resistance. But Joaquin's work asks us to look deeper. Rizal's heroism wasn't simple. It was complex, born of intellectual conviction, a sense of duty, and perhaps a reluctant acceptance of his fate. He wasn't a traditional hero, but his words, his actions, his very life became a catalyst for change. He was an anti-hero in the sense that he didn't fit the traditional mold of a warrior or a revolutionary leader, yet he became a hero nonetheless. A Question of Heroes challenges us to reconsider our understanding of heroism. It reminds us that heroes are not always perfect, that they can be complex, even flawed. Rizal's greatness lies not in his saintliness, but in his courage to think critically, to challenge the status quo, and to dedicate his life to the service of his nation, even when it meant personal sacrifice. His story prompts us to ask, what does it mean to be a hero? And what role do we play in shaping our own destinies?